Dr. Rick, and today's unboxing is on Citramax. Citramax by Puritan's Pride. This is a version that was approved by Consumer Labs as far as the use of Garcinia Cambogia. So Garcinia Cambogia, which I will show you right here, is, just to spell it out for you, is a diet supplement. And the diet supplement, here's one study. It didn't speak too highly of it, but diet supplement has been thought to improve chances at weight loss. So I always say diet is number one reason or method to lose weight. That's the pill. That's the size of the pill. So standard size. Smells actually pretty good. Puritan's Pride. I don't usually get Puritan's Pride, but that's that. So I think Dr. Oz made it popular when he used or touted that Garcinia Cambogia, also known as hydroxycitric acid, HCA, helped in decreasing the appetite, so that when you're on a diet, hopefully whole food, mostly plant-based, if you take the Garcinia Cambogia twice a day, it might help. So I had to do some research because I tell you what, in this COVID, I am gaining weight. I am not shy to report that I am up 10 pounds. And that might not seem like a lot to you guys, but to me, I'm an athlete, runner, cardio, hiking. Even on hiking, when we carry a backpack, we count grams of weight, even in shoes. So carrying extra 10 pounds in the belly, especially visceral, makes me very uncomfortable. But I tried to maintain my usual diet. It's just hard when sheltering at home is around, especially kids, and eating time is off. So in addition to stress and possibly being called into the front line. So as I mentioned, this study was pretty good as far as breaking down the basics of hydroxycitric acid or Garcinia Cambogia, but it said, or pointed out, liver failure. And that was, it wasn't in all the analyses of Garcinia Cambogia, but something to keep in mind. So you can see where I'm going with this. This was a randomized controlled trial, RCT, of Garcinia, and it talked about Garcinia being, the effects being about as equal as placebo. So essentially equal to chance as far as losing weight. Now, the only problem is this had a small subject population, 135 subjects. So, and they average 1,500 grams per day. I'm not sure if they divided it up. Over 12 weeks, which is kind of short. And it was nice because they did talk about the mechanism of action, inhibiting adenine triphosphate. So supposedly that would work in a way to decrease the appetite center of the brain. And maybe, modestly, Consumer Lab had a nice review of this, modestly give you a nice outcome in a short amount of time. So I just say, hey, this might help, because my appetite, because of other reasons, has really been out the door. And I'm trying to, those of you who know me, I do fasting mimicking diet. I do intermittent fasting or time restricted feeding. I usually only eat from 12 noon to 8 p.m. But again, when you're with a bunch of people and there's mealtime, and then there's a stress, and then there's sleep difficulties, it's like, and there's decreased income, and all those things drive my mind. So I think I'm going to blame that on the 10 pounds, but I am getting back to aggressive treatment of myself to prepare for summertime. So in figuring out if I would use this or not, I had to come up with a meta-analysis, or at least look for a meta-analysis. This is meta-analysis. The meta-analysis is when you take a bunch, you essentially peruse all the other data that's out there, like randomized controlled trials, and you kind of get a basic yes or no. And this was pretty good, but the sample sizes were off. This too pointed out that the studies were mostly 1 gram to up to 2.5 grams per day were suggested to try, with some side effects, not the liver thing, but GI side effects, headache. So there are some side effects. You have to be careful. There is no interaction that I could find, at least in the meta-analysis. But the meta-analysis essentially looked at the end point of the meta-analysis was it might produce a little bit of short-term relief, or as the Consumer Lab guys found a modest improvement in appetite suppression, but it wasn't spectacular. Sometimes pushing that out to long-term data would be helpful to see if it makes a difference. But when the side effects are low, I'm going to try this just to see, because at this point in time, my usual methods to cut back and lose weight or maintain weight are not working. So having found the endpoint to sheltering in place, perhaps, or seeing it come to fruition, perhaps in Illinois and the world, it might give me more inspiration and help me to sustain a good nutrition restriction. So I'm going to try it twice a day and see what happens, but I'm also going to implement that on top of a very hard, fast goal, a short goal, but hard, fast to really get in shape again. And so unfortunately, I have to tell you that reviewing the data, I'm going to give it a try, but I have to give it a thumbs down. So this is the first thumbs down I ever did on Garcinia Cambogia, but I've had anecdotal stories of patients coming in and losing tremendous amounts of weight with this. Now, whether that was placebo or not, equal to chance, I don't know. But again, as long as there's no bad side effects, except for that one study that said there's a liver failure issue, I think it's worth a try. I cannot suggest it for my patients, but what I can suggest, again, as I was alluding to, is nutrition. If you make nutrition changes, this is a version of beta hydroxybutyrate. So sometimes when you do ketosis dieting, which would help in the short run as far as decreasing appetite, giving a sensation of fullness and satisfaction, and perhaps mobilizing fat stores. That's what low carbohydrate eating is about. A little bit on the paleo too, embraces low carbohydrate intake. It might move the needle faster than trying something else, especially if you're diabetic. So I think it's worth a try. I think I've done other videos on ketosis, ketogenic diet, paleo, and low carb. So I think it's worth a try, mostly because a lot of Americans are insulin resistant. And there's a way to measure glycosylated hemoglobin, insulin levels. I like to check insulin levels in the morning. And sometimes a HOMA-IR, which I'm starting to get into, which evaluates whether you're insulin sensitive or not by using the insulin to glucose. So I'll put a link down below, or I'll talk about it in the next tutorial. But as far as this versus diet, I wouldn't suggest taking it or buying it. I'll let you know what happens in a video coming up in about a month if this helped me. Again, whether it's placebo or not, I am not sure, but I need to do something because this corona sheltering at home is just putting me over the edge as far as unhealthy. When visceral fat is the fat here. And the picture I'm going to put will show you where I'm at. I'm not embarrassed. I have blood tests I'm going to be talking about. I drew yesterday, including COVID antibodies. We'll see. Hopefully that I have antibodies, or well, we'll see. But I think that overall, when you do have the documentation coming out of Europe and Asia is that when you have comorbid factors like obesity, diabetes, hypertension, it will increase your chances for a bad outcome. So if you do have those things, don't worry. As long as you take your medicines, then you're safe. But I would propose to you that maybe we should try to lower those comorbid risk factors with diet, exercise, calming practice, and see what happens. I mean, it isn't going to hurt with regards to COVID. And it isn't going to hurt. In fact, it will reverse the potential for later on down the line problems, heart attacks, stroke, and cancer. So why not just try now? Why not try now? The problem is initiating that stuff, and I totally understand where some of my patients live, especially moms or stay-at-home parents. Really tough, and I really honor you now, but we still can't make an excuse. We have to be able to postpone the diseases that are coming. If you indulge in that stuff, including smoking and no exercise, you'll bring the diseases fast. If you do try to decrease your comorbid states, you push back the diseases. So if you live to 103, cool. If you live to 103 and you have all the diseases in the world, you're just a burden to other people, including your family and yourself, and you're going to probably be in pain. So let's try to do this now, since we have the inspiration that the COVID thing and the sheltering in place has decreased the curve, but we still have a lot of work to do. So again, thumbs down, but I'll let you know what happens in a couple weeks.